Australian property market, USA property market, who is trumping who? We'll come back to you. Stay tuned in a couple of seconds.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Morning Minutes, episode 403. I think this will be one of my favorite conversations we've had. We've got Mark Novak and special guest Simon Polito live from the USA, California, on Long Beach. COVID, we've spoken about the impacts in Australia, where actually the property market has surged, but let's hear what it's like in America. Simon, good morning.
Good morning, or afternoon for me, but good morning for you. You guys are living the future over there.
Talk us through a little bit about yourself. So you're from Australia, you moved to the USA, you've been there 11 years. What were you doing there, and sort of fast track us to COVID hit California, and what happened in property? Could you work? Could you not work?
Yeah, so it was very interesting, actually, and not to be rude and correct you, but I've only been here for 5.5 years.
Oh, sorry.
I moved over in 2015, but that's all right, all good. I was an agent in Sydney in Potts Point. It was where I finished up at Elizabeth Bay, Potts Point. 14 years I served, I say that. But originally started in Narrowena, Gigliotti Real Estate at the top of May Road. Competing against Mr. Novak at my early stages.
Yeah.
Back when you first opened your business, you opened yours the same time I pretty much started in real estate. So,
oh wow!
Yeah, over here it's been really difficult. I'm not going to lie, really, really difficult with COVID. We've been locked down for a long time. We're still in a lockdown, technically. We've only just came out of a purple stage only 2 days ago, but we still can't do open houses. The market here is absolutely surging, nowhere near as hot as what Sydney is, but there's no inventory. We're so low on stock that you're seeing property prices jump about 30% in the last 12 months in the Orange County market where I'm located. We are doing what we can. Obviously, there's certain forms that the California State Bureau mandate have to have, which is known as a PED, which is a pedestrian entry and access disclosure for COVID. So everyone who comes through a home has to submit a PED form. They can't work as an essential worker. Essential workers can't view properties because they're the front line and they're at risk of contaminating. So it's been very difficult with getting people into homes. A lot of people are buying homes sight unseen, which is just crazy in my mind. But we've been very, very lucky as far as where we're located in California. Everyone wants to be close to the sunshine. If you're going to be working from home, where else would you rather be in the country of the United States? I mean, we're in winter.
Yeah.
Look where we are.
Look at that. So where are you? That's Long Beach, yeah?
Right now, yeah, I'm actually at St. Patrick's Day, hence why I got the greens on. But we're just having a St. Patrick's Day lunch with about 25 agents I'm with right now. Just having a quick lunch and just a bit of masterminding and networking. But it's been a really interesting market. I haven't seen something like this since I was back in Sydney. The US market's always maintained a 1% to 2% per annum growth. But in the last year, like I said, 30 to 36%, depending where you are, we've seen this crazy market where, I mean, there's 75,000 licensed real estate agents in Orange County alone.
Wow.
Oh wow!
Yeah, there's only 20,000 in America. There's only 20,000 in the whole country of Australia.
Yeah, and how many properties would sell a year typically in Orange County, and how's it been the last year?
So right now, we're the lowest inventory in the history of recording in the United States. There's never been such a low amount of inventory, and that's because the interest rates are so low. It's been the thousands. It's only been in the thousands, truth be told. It hasn't been very high at all. But the one thing we are seeing is the luxury market, and luxury being anything over 3 million. That market is now really picking up and driving. You're seeing some really out of line sales that have been sitting on the market for hundreds of days and are now getting snapped up and in a bidding war, where property prices that might have been at 5 or 6 million are now selling for 7 and 8. The market has moved on the luxury market, which is great, finally. But it's very,
So
very.
Simon,
Seriously, I can't explain how different it is to the Australian market.
We find in if we try to read the last 6 or 12 months in the property market in Sydney, we sort of apply the tree change, sea change philosophy over it, and it sort of starts to make sense where if people are chasing sea change or tree change, those particular areas of Sydney have done well. Is that a similar sort of format to what's happening in sort of California over other states?
Since apart from being in the pandemic, we've had a leadership role change. We've lost Trump and we've got Biden now, and the tax implications that come along with that. I'm not trying to swing either way, being neutral. Biden's tax implications are really going to hurt a lot of people in California.
I'm safe on here.
Raising taxes up to 48%. So you're seeing what you're saying to your question, Mark. You're seeing a lot of people that are relocating out of this state to move to states that have no property taxes or a lower tax threshold, and that's what's driving people out of California. But there's just a massive housing shortage here, and people are okay with moving a little bit inland from the coast. But the property prices in California have just driven up moving people out of it. That's the problem. The prices are driving people out of the area.
Was construction happening for the past year? Would that equal supply? Because the building halt, so you wouldn't have many new developments or everything paused as well. So obviously when buyers can now view property, that switch happens over the next day. They're in a property, but you can't just turn on the construction market the next day and have properties ready. So have things been built over the last 12 months, or is it sort of halted as well? Which could...
They helped. There was a 6-month period where no one really was able to do anything. Everyone was stuck inside their house. So we are playing catch up in that respect. But I can tell you now, these guys are madmen. You get a developer, they're doing 1,000 homes at once. They're knocking them out, and they've got 10,000 workers there. That are, I'm not trying to be rude or incorrect, but a lot of Mexican workers. They'll just bring in a truckload of guys, and they'll nail out the buildings. The workmanship, I personally don't agree with the quality of the workmanship on a lot of these developments. They're not built to last. They're not built out of. I'm a good Italian, right? I like concrete and I like bricks.
Double brick.
They don't do that here in California. We're on a fault line, so everything's built out of wood and plywood, and so it can flex with the plates and the movements. So the quality of homes is not there, but there's just a massive shortage. There's an oversupply of people, but there's an undersupply of properties. So what the state of California has now done is very similar to what Northern Beaches did a couple of years ago. You're now able to build an additional dwelling in your backyard or convert your garage into an additional dwelling for income. And that's how they're trying to solve the housing shortage.
Or just a quick question on you would have a great insight into both sort of cultures where, as I said, Italian background, it's all about buying property, hold. That's how you create your wealth, get an investment when you've got the equity. Is that similar where you are, or is it more entrepreneurial business? That's where you make your money and you just own a home or you rent where you live? Like, what Northern Beaches culture, especially our Italian culture as well, is to buy and keep buying. Is that the same over there?
Somewhat. You don't find, there's not many Italians where I am, truth be told, but there's a lot of Persians and a lot of Indians and Chinese, and they are buying a lot of homes, and they're mainly for their family. To go over their family from overseas. They'll buy several homes and they'll move, that'll allow them to immigrate over from their respective countries. But you do find it's mainly big consortium groups that are buying these developments. So you're buying in as fractional ownership of a company or an LLC, better known as, and that ownership will own several investment properties. And you take dividends per year. So similar, but not, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
See, the rule in Australia, you don't pay interest, you don't pay property taxes on your principal place of residence. You actually do in the United States. So you don't have too many people. You've got to pay anywhere between 1% and 2% every year to the state of the value of your home. There's a lot. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
But you don't pay stamp duty when you buy the house, though. There's no stamp duty when you buy a house.
And is it more of a push with rental return in the States then, or capital? Yeah, is that where the money is? People are buying for the rent, you redevelop it. Is that the bigger play?
the biggest revenue raiser is flipping a home, and that's because there's no stamp duty here. So that 4% that we're paying in Sydney is absorbed as your profit margin, right? So here they'll get a 10% spread because they'll be able to have that leniency of that money not having to go to the state. If you can convert it quickly, there's a program in the United States known as a 1031 exchange. You can defer the taxes to your next property, providing you buy at the same level or above. So you got a lot of these companies that are constantly, they'll buy a home for $700,000. They'll get 30 workers in there in a week. They'll completely do a bathroom, kitchen, and a house renovation. In 2 more weeks, it's on the market, and it's on the market for $800,000.
I always
that's how they're making their money. They're flipping 30, 40 homes a year.
That explains that tax, because I know when I've ever spoken to people where they have that attitude in Australia, I'm like, it's not like you've seen in all the American flip movies where you get it, like the money's just not there necessarily here, and your changeover cost is so huge. A lot of people try and have that mindset where they're talking to you, they're like, I'll buy the unit, I'll renovate it. Flipper's like, no, you buy the unit, you renovate it, you hold. That's the plan in sort of here.
Hold it.
Hold, yeah, hold.
The problem is here, not. You'll actually appreciate this, Mark. No one in this state that I've come across really uses a property management company. They're all self-brand. So they use an agent to find the source them the tenant, and that agent only gets a couple grand for finding them a tenant, like a leasing fee. It's done in a different way. It's normally 3% of the term of the lease, and then the owner manages it. And that's why they don't have many people who want to manage their own homes, because they don't know what they're doing. They hate the fact that we're in a state where the government favors the tenant. And you can't, especially in a pandemic, we can't get tenants out of homes. They won't leave. And the government's letting them pay.
Oh, no.
So you have a lot of people that are very hesitant to become property investment owners. They just want to flip it and move it.
So that's just raised, that actually is a question that I have. One, what is the yield that you'll get on a property there? And and then the next thing is
4 to 5%. 4 to 5% is the average.
And then people just generally don't do that because it's just hard work. So how did the government treat tenants and landlords through COVID, particularly the early part of COVID? Did they allow tenants just, like our government was very different. I think they, in residential, it worked out pretty well for both parties.
Over here, you only had to pay 30% of your rent.
Sorry, sound's gone, Simon. Hang on. I think you muted it.
They lost about 30. How it worked was the government allowed you to only have to pay 30% of your rent, and that would allow you to stay in the property.
And what about the owner's mortgage and the owner's mortgage? We can hear you. Yes. So the tenant only had to pay 30% rent, but what if there was a mortgage on the property? Did the owner have to pay full mortgage still?
So you were able to get a deferred payment plan, so the owner wouldn't have to pay their mortgage for a certain amount of time, depending on your situation. So that was a relief for landlords. But technically, even to this day, still, as a tenant, you can, as long as you pay minimum 30% of your rent, they can't evict you, and it doesn't go down.
And what about a landlord But the sore thing, that sounds good on face value, but at the end of the day, where's the landlord going to get that 70% from to pay the mortgage back?
They're not, and the government's not giving it to them. They're not going to get it.
Wow.
And that's what's deterring a lot of people from buying investment properties.
Yeah. I have the same thing in commercial, where we saw our commercial market pause because buyers were like, I don't want to buy something with the fear of the tenant being locked down, because that 7% rent sounds good on paper until they're closed. And there was, and it's like they just didn't buy it. Basically saw the pause and residential skyrocketed.
They're doing the same. The commercial here is absolutely struggling. There's so much commercial open because everyone's working from home. So all these big industrial parks, I mean, the office even I'm part of, there's several offices in it, and there's levels that are completely empty. Some people haven't come back in over a year. They're working from home. So right now, the property management companies for commercial, they're giving 1 year, 2 years free. Just sign in.
Yeah.
But it's also a good time to be buying in, as you guys know. If you're holding long term, this is the time to be going in because you've got more bargaining power. So as long as you can afford to absorb that cost over the period of time, you're gonna come out golden at the end, in my belief.
And can I just clarify, just at the beginning when you said the people you could show through, they had to get the PEDS test, was that during the lockdown or was that only just now?
It's during lockdown and still going.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so, I just want to confirm that because even though New South Wales agents, we were in lockdown, we could still basically do everything. It did, we could still show. So, yes, it was lockdown of the state, but agents weren't really locked down. So you were still able to at least...
I wasn't even able to call an auction. I wasn't able to call an auction. That was deemed as holding a public event, and we weren't allowed to congregate in more than groups of 3. So... I mean, and even when I do an open house or a showing, I had to pretty much look like I was in a hazmat outfit. You've got to be decked out from top to bottom, gloves, booties, mask, protection, sanitizers, everything. Thermometer gun. Every time someone comes in the house, thermometer gun, make sure the temperature's okay. But the way we've got it around open houses or open for inspections, it's better known in Australia, we were doing 15-minute windows where we would have people register to come through the home in advance. So they have a 15-minute window. Say you're doing an open showing from 11 to 12. We have 11, 11:15, 11:30, 11:45, 11:45 to 12. And we would double book the spots because people in California, half of them don't turn up. So we would have double every spot. So we'd have a showing every showing. We'd probably get about 8 groups coming through every time.
And how's it been for you personally in the last sort of 12 months?
Oh, dude! I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. Probably the biggest mental. I got no problem saying it. I went through a massive mental breakdown last year. I was not in a good health-wise place, mentally or sanely. I was not. It was very depressing. Can't even fly home to Australia. Can't see my family. Can't see my parents. So it's very hard. It still sucks. I'm not going to lie. It still sucks. There's a question I see there on the thing. Do you buy property, Simon? Yes, we do buy property.
I think he's put above it was in the US or Australia. Right, knowing what you know now.
Australia every day of the week. In the US.
Yeah. Have you bought? Do you invest yourself?
The lack of growth is horrible. It's horrible. Sydney has the best growth in the world. It's the only country in the last 50 years in the whole world that's had consistent growth.
Wow. Yeah.
That's a good point.
And I still got a place in the Northern Beaches. I still got a place in the Inner West, and I got a place up in Brisbane, which I probably shouldn't have because that's not making me any money. But I don't really feel interested in buying here unless it's going to be a flip. I don't want to hold it. I don't want to pay property taxes every year. That's your profit margin gone.
It's true.
I'm better to rent my places out in Sydney and use that rent money to rent here and live where I want to live on the beach. And let someone else pay all those huge... Because here's the thing. It's called HOA here, but in Australia it's known as strata. Houses are part of a strata community. That's why everything looks like Pleasantville, because everything's so well manicured. But you can pay, as a homeowner of a house, you can pay $500 a month just in HOA fees or strata fees, better known to
US.
Yeah, just to hold your house. On top of your property taxes, on top of your mortgage, on top of everything else, and your living expenses. It's really not that cheap to live in California. It's exceptionally.
So freehold doesn't exist there, basically.
Well, they call it fee simple land, but you still got to pay all the other things that go with it. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But to them it does. I get it. Look, that's the way. That's all they know, and that's how it works here. I get that. I respect it. I'm coming from a different cultural background, so it's really interesting and it's fun. It's fun. I mean, I've been here for 5.5 years, and I finally feel like I found my feet. And I don't know if I don't know if I've got an American accent or an Australian accent. I have no idea.
You're pretty Aussie still.
Yeah, good one, mate.
So, are you, just so for the viewers out there, you went there to do auctions. Are you now representing sellers, representing buyers? What's sort of your role right now?
So, crazily enough, it's illegal to represent a buyer and a seller in Australia, right? You can only represent one side. It's very common here to have dual representation, and most agents over here will happily do both. In fact, if you utilize our auction services, you have a 72% chance that you will represent both sides and double your money. Now think about that when you're taking a 6%. Not bad, huh? We
Yeah.
the other day for 8%.
So say that to you cut out a bit. What's the commission for a buyer's agent? What's the commission for a sale vendor's agent?
Yeah, so when
Percentage?
you list a property, you will negotiate as the listing agent a commission that the seller's going to pay out, and that seller's going to pay the buyer's agent as well.
Wow.
So it's normally a 6% commission or 5% depending on the price point, but that's divided normally 50-50, so 2.5% or 3% each way. Now,
Yep.
if you're going to double side it, that's your leverage when you're negotiating with your seller or your vendor. Is that, hey, look, if I double side it, I'll take a point off, or I'll take half a point off, whatever you want to negotiate. But I mean, you'll find the average commission here in Orange County, in Irvine, where I am, it's $1 million house, and average commission is 20 to 25 grand.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm
But
wrong.
the
When
problem
we
is you don't have agents doing deals every day. They'll be lucky to do 3 to 5 deals a year.
Yeah, that's the thing. Your days on market and getting deals a lot harder. But are auctions that common? I think when we met a couple of years ago, that conference, when you went there, auctions weren't that common then, or were they?
No, they were not. And over the 5 years of me being here, there's been about 100 new agencies that have opened up with auctions. I'm very fortunate that I got ahead of them, so I've been able to get in front of more people to do so. But we're about to engage in expanding into several other states. Truth be told, I'm actually about to shoot a pilot for a television show in another state, and that's going to really blow us up. It's going to get us on the map. I'd love to have you guys integrate with us and somehow on that. I don't know how we can do it, Mark. Let's put our creative hats on and work out how we can make this happen.
Yeah, we'll make it go global.
It's going to be a national, actually maybe even a worldwide show on a national network that's going to show how to sell homes with auctions. Basically cool. Like your $1 million listings, but not with $1 million listing properties. They're going to be affordable homes for everyday consumers, so it's more relatable. But auctions are definitely becoming a more prevalent way of selling real estate. I would say it's probably a 20% to 80% traditional method right now. I see that being 50-50 within the next several years.
And they've got you to thank for that.
I'm just one of them, dude. I'm on. I don't want to take the rap for it. I didn't create auctions. I didn't invent it. I'm just reminding people on how the wheel works.
Yeah.
And having
you were one of the first ones there, though.
I've got to say it though. I reckon it'd be a good point of difference.
Zillow. I hate Zillow. I think Zillow's main headquarters every day, and I hate Zillow because they're ruining our market. They're going to take over the market. They're buying all the auxiliary outlets, all the vendors that we work with. All the vendors for your sellers, all the tradespeople that we work with, all the different products. So they're buying all the programs, and they're reselling your own information back to you at a price.
Wow!
So, not a big fan of Zillow. Not a big fan at all. They'll take your information, Mark, that you put in at a showing. So let's just say you did a showing, you put your register into your, I think you maybe use Open Home or whatever Open Door, whatever your app is that you use. And Agent Box, and they get the information from Agent Box and then resell it back to you and charge you 36% referral fee.
Oh.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. How you doing?
Yeah. So there's a big coup right now where people are boycotting them. But it's up in the air. There's a lot of things happening here. A lot of agents are getting into the industry because realistically, right now, anyone can sell their home. You don't even need an agent. But if you want to get a premium, you get an agent and an auctioneer attached, as you guys know. But realistically, you just got to put a sign out the front. Sign out the front, put it on the MLS, which is the multiple listing site, basically the same as putting it on realestate.com or domain. Go back to your office. There'll be a whole list of offers in there for you. Done deal. Wow.
And just quickly, just before we wrap up, the buying process. I know if you've ever watched the $1 Million Listing, there's escrow, deals fall through when you think they're done. Would you mind just briefly just how that works?
Yeah, so I want to tell you now, life is not like $1 Million Listings. It doesn't happen on a phone. It's about a 50-page document. I actually had lunch yesterday with a guy called Tony Giordano. He did 6 seasons of $1 Million Listings LA. And we're about to start doing some really cool marketing stuff. But it's funny, I was asking him actually that same question yesterday. What's it really like what you guys showed on the show? He's like, hell no. Hell no. He actually said other words, but I won't repeat them.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not. It's absolutely, it's all scripted. It's all scripted. But
it's Hollywood made real estate, basically.
Yeah.
Show business.
Until you have a negotiation, Absolutely. A conversation needs to be open to have that negotiation done to save time. But then once that's done, you've got to go back and you've got to attach proof of funds. You've got to attach a pre-qualification letter from their lender, and you've got to attach this 50-page document, basically giving your first kidney or your first liver, whatever you want to give out, and give that to them as a proof to show who you are. Here's a fun fact, and I didn't even know about any about. I used to get questions a lot in Potts Point from buyers, especially Chinese and international buyers. They'd always say, how much for cash? And I used to always say, I don't really care. The seller's going to get the same price. It's the same thing. Yeah. I get it now. Over here, cash is king. And there's a lot of buyers buying with cash. A lot of cash. I had one guy turn up with $6 million in cash.
And what does that mean different having no loan in the transaction? What does that mean different? Because here it doesn't matter, as you know. Yeah. Cash or loan, don't care. Same money for the owner.
Yeah, to compare and give reference, conditions in Australia are known as contingencies here. The number of contingencies you can have, and this might sound really crazy to you guys, you can have a contingency to sell your house. You can have a contingency to do a home inspection. You can have a contingency that the seller has to do all the repairs. You can have a contingency for a termite clearance, a contingency for appraisal, being the valuation, a contingency for your finance. If your finance doesn't come through, you can pull out of the deal with no problems.
And that's common.
And you only have to put down less than 1% as a deposit.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's as loose or as tight as you want it to be.
So when you have a cash buyer, a lot of those contingencies are removed, so it's a safer purchase, less risk for the buyer, less risk for the seller to fall out of escrow. And that's the ultimate thing for the seller, it's safety. You might have someone offering 20, 30 grand more with a contingency versus a cash deal that you know is rock solid. What's the safer option for you, Mr. Seller?
Yeah, okay. That makes sense, and I think that penny will drop for a lot of Aussie agents here because I've even said to clients going, if you pay cash or with the loan, it's the same amount for the client. It makes no difference. If you've got all cash, you get a loan. That means you can actually get a loan and pay more now if you're paying with so much cash. But
everyone's in an uproar here right now. We just had an interest rate rise this week. It's 3.1.
Really?
And they're in uproar. It's in absolute uproar.
So where are you in interest rates? What interest rate were you at? Where are you at now with the rise?
We were at 2.75 for the last several weeks. I even know one lady who got a 10-year fixed for 1.99.
How good that? So now
it's free money. It's free money. Take my money, and that's with no. It's with a stated income. All it is how much money do you make? Yeah, I make this. Cool, you got the approval.
Wow.
So how much has it gone up to though?
It went up to 3.1. So it went up half a basis. It went up to 3.25, then it took it down to 3.1. So it went up half a basis point, and then it took it down a little bit. But they're anticipating us to be back in the 4s and 5s by mid-year.
Wow. And is that to slow back the market, or is that money grab from the state?
Curb inflation, just the curb inflation.
Okay.
But they're giving out money. The Biden administration is giving out $2,000 as a stimulus package, but he's going to increase everyone's taxes by $5,000.
Yeah. I know.
Not really logical,
anyway. You've got some fans there, Simon. You got some fans
Luke,
there. Luke said thank you, but thank you very much as well, buddy. That is awesome what you've told us. You know what? A lot of the stuff that you just take for granted and you just don't, you do every day, a lot of people here are stinging to know out of interest. So it's been really cool.
I love sharing it with you guys. Thank you for having me on and letting me do that.
Love it.
I'll go on every day with you guys. I don't mind. I love it. You guys are awesome.
Mate, I'll definitely hold you to that. We should do a monthly thing or a fortnightly because I love this conversation. I haven't even
so cool.
I really would appreciate that. That'd be awesome.
And we've held the
Crazy
viewership.
Americans.
Like we get millions of viewers. And we've held the viewership the whole way through. So this is double our normal session, and we've held the thousands of viewers the whole session. You always get a bit of a dip at the end, but everyone stay tuned because it's riveting. It's good. I loved it. Thank you very much.
If any questions come up and it's after we close out here, guys, reach out to me. Happy to help anyway. I love it. And you guys, the guys watching don't know, but I have my rental properties with Novak for that reason. These guys are the best, guys. These guys kill it.
Yeah. Well,
You're a
we'll
legend. You're a legend.
You
get
look
back
after my family, and I can only do the same way back, my friends.
Thank you.
You're a good man. Stay there while we say we're going to say goodbye to our audience, and stay there. I want to thank you.
Yes.
All right, thank you.